Hey all, Eli here. We'll see, I might start making videos again, but for now I want to tell you about my thoughts on Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is of course the newest game that came out from Game Freak. It takes place in the old Sinnoh region, known as Hisui, and has a lot of really new elements, as I'm sure you've all seen, and I want to give you my thoughts on that. So first off, I adore the new open world. There's huge areas to explore, much bigger than anything we saw in Sword and Shield. And the big thing is that you don't have a transition into battle anymore. You kind of interact with these Pokemon in real time. In fact, you can catch Pokemon for the first time without ever going to battle with them. You can just throw a Pokeball at them from far away, which is actually kind of challenging to do. Sometimes some Pokemon will be really rough, and so you have to kind of throw a Pokeball when they're not looking. You have to hide behind bushes, you have to crawl in the grass, you have to aim well. Different Pokeballs will kind of fly a different amount, so some will go really far, some will go very slow but be more effective, but they will travel, you know, just a few feet. It's a really innovative and nice system, so I really appreciate it. I've had a lot of fun with it. Or, you know, you can go into battle as normal and fight with a Pokemon and do the normal strategy where you take the health down and then you catch it with a Pokeball. But the big difference is that there's no transition. You know, there's no battle screen. You just literally go straight into battle, and it's still turn-based. One thing I really love is just the game doesn't hold back. It's pretty challenging. It's probably the most challenging Pokemon game I've played in a long time, maybe since I was a kid. Might be the most challenging Pokemon game since the original, maybe 3 generations or so. You know, you could die at any time, really, because Pokemon would come at you, and they would attack you in real time, and you would either have to avoid their attacks or send out a Pokemon to engage in battle. If you didn't do that well enough, you could take 2 or 3 hits from a wild Pokemon, and you'd be wiped out, and you'd have to go back to the base. Similarly, I've regularly found my Pokemon getting wiped out in battle. My team wouldn't get wiped out, but they would faint, and I'd have to go back and get healed. And this isn't something that really happened in previous Pokemon games. In several previous Pokemon games, if you leveled up your main Pokemon, your starter Pokemon, extensively throughout the game without much grinding, you'd be able to take out pretty much any Pokemon you came across. Sometimes with just 1 or 2 moves. It was never a problem. You would very rarely faint. And if you would faint, it would just be 1 or 2 Pokemon. But there were times throughout the game where I would have many of my Pokemon faint in one battle. I'd barely squeak out. In the after game, you have some big Pokemon battles against trainers that have, you know, level 70 Pokemon. And I wiped out several times. That really was the final boss. And I'm not going to spoil it, but I wiped out, I think, 4 or 5 times before I realized I had to go back and level up and come back to the battle later on. It was not easy, and I really appreciated it because they treated you like an adult. And of course, kids will have fun too. But I felt respected as a gamer because I was no longer wiping through every Pokemon that I saw. In both, I would have to act stealthy in the environment to catch Pokemon, and then I'd have to go into battles and act strategically and be well supplied. It was excellent. In fact, you'd come across Pokemon, and Sword and Shield did this a little bit, where you'd have much more powerful Pokemon roaming, so you'd maybe have to wait till later in the game before you could battle them when your Pokemon were more leveled up. Here, it takes it to a whole nother level, because the Alpha Pokemon, which are the specific type of extra big and extra powerful Pokemon, were almost like mini boss fights or boss fights in their own. So they were incredibly difficult to fight and catch successfully. There were times where I would go against Alpha Pokemon and try to catch them, and they would wipe out almost my entire party, and I would have to give up on catching them and just take the Pokemon out and come back later, because these Pokemon were like level 70 Pokemon and would wipe out your entire party. No joke, you know, 1 or 2 attacks each when your Pokemon are, you know, level 60, level 65. So the game provided a lot of challenge. I especially loved that each environment had wildly different type of Pokemon to catch. I mean, so there was some overlap, but, you know, you'd go in the snow area, or you'd go in the grass area, you'd go in the swamp area, and you'd have each type of Pokemon was specifically situated to its environment. It worked so well. And so it really felt whenever I was going to a new area that I was doing exploration in a way, you know, I felt the first time I played Pokemon, where you never knew what you were going to find, and you never knew if you were going to be safe, and you never knew if there were going to be new challenges in Pokemon that would just pop up. That being said, one of the things I kind of didn't like about the game is that many of the Pokemon, were incredibly aggressive out in the wild. So the Pokemon were all over the place. They weren't really spaced out that much, so you'd be through an area and the Pokemon would be everywhere. And it's cool when you're first getting to an area because it's really easy to find Pokemon and catch them. But sometimes you'd be in an area where you've already done a lot, you've caught a lot of them, and the Pokemon are still targeting you relentlessly. And unfortunately, it's one of those things where you actually can't explore the environment. You can't pick up items until you can't even fast travel until you're completely clear of any Pokemon. So you're required to still try to catch or battle any Pokemon in your vicinity if you want to move on with your game, if you want to collect, if you want to even target a new Pokemon. So that was really frustrating because I think I would have appreciated, something that some new RPGs have done recently is if you're over leveled, the Pokemon will kind of run away from you instead of targeting you. And I wish Nintendo did that in this game. Game Freak did it because I think it would have been helpful if you had gone back to an area and you were over leveled for the Pokemon to be less willing to attack you. But now when you're going back and you're trying to complete your Pokedex, you're still getting attacked left and right, and it's really frustrating if you're trying to get from point A to point B, or if you're trying to specifically get a certain Pokemon. That being said, as I talked about when you're fulfilling the Pokedex, it looks nothing like anything in history. Before, in Pokemon games, as you know, if you catch a Pokemon, it's automatically registered to your Pokedex. Now, there are actually points you have to build up, so each Pokemon will have certain tasks. For example, you can see it use a certain move, or you have to catch it, or you have to defeat it, or you have to defeat it in a certain way, or you have to catch, an alpha version of this Pokemon. And seeing each of these tasks really changed up the way you'd interact with battling. So, in the past, I would just catch a Pokemon and be like, alright, I don't really care about it anymore in the wild. I'm never gonna, I'm gonna run away from every battle. I'm gonna avoid it. And nowadays, I caught a Weasel, for example, and instead of just avoiding it, I see that there are tasks and I need to catch, at least 3 to get another point towards its Pokedex completion, or if I catch 6 of them, or if I defeat it with an electric type move, or a grass type move, it's leveling up my Pokedex. And so it really incentivizes you to come back and engage with the different Pokemon in different ways, in a way that has never happened before. And I think that's wonderful, because it number one, reduces the likelihood you're going to get bored, because there's always a reason to go back and engage with these Pokemon, and always gives you a goal to chase. And number two, it gives you like a new way to engage in the playstyles. It's a little bit like achievements in a way. Some people like achievements because it gives them new ways to play games, to go back and, get every collectible in a level, or to beat a boss without taking any damage. And this is kind of a similar sort of thing. It gives you a list of tasks complete, which I find is really cool. So another thing I want to talk about is the story, which is terrible. Usually we wouldn't talk about the story if it's bad, but here it's like so excessively bad, and it takes up so much dialogue that I wish there was just a way to skip the dialogue, because it's so bad, or to fast to speed through it, because you'll go through conversations and it's just like it's never ending. The characters won't shut up, and they're not saying anything substantive, and you just kind of like mash the A button to try to get through, and it just takes forever. Another thing that I have to complain about are the graphics. I know you've heard this a lot, and it's kind of controversial, like how much the graphics matter, and really they don't to the gameplay. The game runs fine and smooth. You can traverse on different animals or on different Pokemon to get across the map, and it's wonderful. You can fly a map, you can swim across a map, and that's all a great development. I love it. But, you're just sometimes entering new environments, and I'm like, is this a GameCube game, or is this a Switch game? Or is this, did this game come out in 1999 or 2000, or did this game come out in 2021? It looks like a 20-year-old game, and at some point it's just unacceptable, and once again, it doesn't affect the gameplay. It'll be fine. I was still addicted to the gameplay. I loved it, but, at some point, you gotta hold yourself up to a better standard. You are a multi-billion-dollar company. You produce games for literally one of the biggest entertainment properties in the world. Why can't you spend a little more money making your game not look like it came out 20 years ago? It's really disappointing, and it's kind of turned into like a joke. And I'll add some pictures into this video, but you'll see that, I don't know, these games look like they were made on GameCube. This is like Pokemon Coliseum level graphics, and it's wildly embarrassing. Another short complaint is when you're riding Pokemon, as I mentioned, which is, once again, a great traversal mechanism in the game, I really find it irritating how you can catch Pokemon on the water, because you pretty much can use this like fish Pokemon to travel and catch Pokemon while you're riding it, but the catching mechanisms are terrible. It just doesn't work well while you're in the water. It's very difficult to aim the Pokeball and actually catch a Pokemon in real time, especially if the Pokemon are like smaller. So I wish there was a better way to do that, especially when many of the Pokemon in the water will just run away from you, so it becomes even more difficult to catch. Finally, I just want to talk about the Pokedex designs, the new Pokemon designs. They're wonderful. I think that there aren't a ton of new Pokemon, as you know, but I think I don't remember how many new Pokemon, 10 or 20 new Pokemon designs are really cool and innovative and creative. The boss fights are wonderful. You know, it's actually not purely defeating gym leaders. There's actually a real-time sort of dodging and mechanism. So it's a real boss fight in a literal sense, to where you have your character and you've got to dodge and attack the Pokemon with your own person, not just with other Pokemon. So it's really innovative and intelligent. There are tons of side quests for the first time that we haven't really had in Pokemon before. Just tons of them. I think there's about 100 side quests. There's tons of legendary Pokemon to catch. And the crafting mechanisms are really new. I think the crafting mechanisms are a little slow at first because it's expensive to afford new crafting materials, and so you have to go out and meticulously gather them. But by the time you're reaching the end of the game, it's very easy to craft tons and tons of items. So overall, I think it's a wonderful game. It's really innovative. You got new gameplay mechanics, you got great Pokemon designs, you got new side quests. Just Pokemon completely changed the game. And although some mechanics don't work perfectly, like catching Pokemon in the water, you know, so there's not too many Pokemon. There's only about 200. You know, some of the mechanics don't work well because they just like look terrible. But that being said, it's a great innovation. I think it's the best maybe new Pokemon game since the Black and White era. It's definitely the most challenging since then, and I would recommend that you give it a try. There's a lot of content and you'll have a lot of fun. Let me know if you like this format of me just talking to you about games. If you want something with more structure, if you want something with a more defined script, let me know. You know, I want to figure out a way to make videos and still, you know, have a life in my school and in my work. And if it has to be me just talking to you and putting some sort of video of a game in the background, so be it. But if you would prefer a lot more effort and structure, let me know that too, and I will look into what I can do to make this a more pleasant experience for you as a viewer. Thanks for watching, and have a great evening. Oh, and don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe if you can.